Right, good afternoon, Doctor Who fans. And look, do we have here again? Only the last month. Look, surprise, surprise. Anyway, Neil, how are you today?
I am all right, thank you. Yes,
yeah.
Very busy day. Very busy. Just calm down.
Yes.
Which is quite nice. Yeah.
Well, that's everything's settled, yeah. But now we've come, because we've made a special visit to see the Davros head, of course, which is infamous, and it's, it's bits and pieces, shall we say. So, can you tell us more about its origins and also about how you came to restore the piece?
Yeah, I mean, basically, this was the original Davros mask, as worn by Michael Wisher, cast for Michael Wisher, made by John Friedlander, one of the BBC's resident sculptors at the time, who is associated with 70s Doctor Who predominantly, and for me, did some of the greatest mask work in Doctor Who, full stop, that are still being referenced today. So to me, and I think the Davros mask in particular was, I think, one of his greatest pieces of work. And although it's just in tatters...
Can I ask a question about that, Neil, by the way?
Yeah.
I believe I heard it was partly destroyed in a fire. Am I right or wrong?
Right. I don't know if it was destroyed in a fire. I don't think it was.
At the Langolian, one of the mega.
No, I don't think it was. I think this was on display at Blackpool for years.
Yeah.
It never, to my knowledge, it probably did go to Longleat. Longleat was where the big fire was.
Yeah.
The Excel on there, the reason that is brown, right? And the reason it's lost its lenses was because that was part of the Llangollen fire.
Right.
So the Urach I'm working on upstairs at the minute has the same colouring on the rubber, which means it was also in the Llangollen fire.
Yep.
This is actually not discoloured at all. It's just pure age. This was kept by a private collector, and it wasn't sealed. Had it been sealed, it wouldn't have dropped to bits as much.
So it's just natural deterioration, is that what we're saying?
In air, yeah. And basically then, of course, people have pulled it around a bit. Obviously, what I've done is I managed to get a cast of the mask from the original mould, which is the fiberglass shell. That...
I believe on your links on Facebook, Simon Horton was asking the very question, where did you get that head from?
That is a chap called Gavin Rymill. Not Gavin Rymill, sorry, his dad, Mike Rymill. And Mike has a mould, and I think it'll be second generation. It'll be a mould from a cast from a cast. But from what I was wanting, that was perfect because it meant I could display the pieces around it. That was the important thing.
Yes, as you were saying, it had been kept without preservation, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the problem with a lot of these pieces is that people have got them, they're keen to get them.
But they don't know how to keep them.
Well, yeah, if you haven't got I guess it's like the old thing, if you haven't got a museum, they tend to go in your bedroom or your collector's room. Collector's rooms tend to be, if somebody goes to the effort of making a specific space, then hopefully they might, and display them properly, then they might think about preservation. But I think let's be honest, for a lot of the time, people haven't been thinking.
So therefore, temperature, climate is a big factor, isn't it? Yeah.
Dust, humidity.
I was just remarking myself as I went around the museum earlier that when you visit the museum, everything changes every time you visit because molecules change within things all the time.
I mean, what I'm trying to do is hold back time,
Yeah, I know.
And once everything's in resin, it's pretty good. They'll outlive me. So what I tend to do is moisturise them thoroughly and then seal them.
What do you use for moisturiser, by the way?
Glycerin. You can use various things as water-based products. You can get moisture back in, preferably with something a bit solid to go in to stop the rubber. I mean, the thing is, this is amazing that it's even there at all. To be fair,
I believe you said in some of your posts there were some bits still there, but you couldn't add them to it. Am I right?
Couldn't do anything with them.
Couldn't do anything.
So basically, I got the main bits down. But what made it, I think, a viable display was getting that cast. Because that cast puts in context the pieces.
It does.
Now, if that wasn't there, the other thing is then it would be like, well, do I sculpt the head? The problem is if I don't, and I could do that. But
the thing I found rather amusing, which at the time was when he did the actual show, Michael Wisher, he actually wore a paper bag over his head to simulate the environment living within that mask, didn't he? Yeah?
But I think the thing with this was if I'd sculpted it, Chris, what would have happened is it would have been my sculpture with little bits stuck in.
Yeah.
And that to me was not. I mean, I've sculpted the Davros before. I've got one upstairs. It's quite a good, a decent sculpt. But
is it a sculpt of the Michael Wisher Davros?
Yeah. And it's pretty good, and obviously if you painted it up, it would probably look more like the original mask than this now. But the reality is, to me, that's more interesting than a good replica because it is the original.
Remind us again, what's that wire at the top again? That's something to do with production.
That's the wire, the light that runs to the front, which would have connected to the eye light. Right, and that, if you look,
is that an original piece of?
Yeah, that's the wire. And then you can actually see there's a bit of blue paint on the top, and and you can see the strip where the head brace was glued to it.
Right. Oh yes, that.
And that's the paint residue off the glue, the head brace. So it's quite a piece. I mean, it's one of these pieces that it's what it is rather than how good it looks.
Oh.
So it's like some pieces, like June's costume behind it. I mean, Ark in Space is arguably one of my favourite stories of all time. So to me to have, I mean, it's in perfect condition.
Never knew somebody who's a massive fan of bubble wrap as you.
Yeah. Well, but I just adore that story, and I enjoy this.
Yeah.
And I enjoy this. I mean, again, the Galsec gun has lasted because it's metal, so it's lasted. But I mean, it's lost its plastic components. But ultimately, the June costume is in great condition.
Is it true in the sets of Ark in Space they use the same set to run up and down the corridor all the time?
Oh, of course.
They do all the time.
Yeah.
They even reused the set. Obviously, they used it in Revenge of the Cybermen and the rest of it.
Yeah, it was a money-making thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you buy the magazine Robot, it explains all that inside.
And we have got that copy already. We bought a copy today, so you shall buy a copy today, all of you. Yes.
Yeah. But basically, I mean, it was a great use of it. Not only that, I think they used it was the narrative they put with it.
Yeah.
The narrative works well.
Yes.
It doesn't feel forced. The fact that they go back to the Ark makes perfect sense.
Do you know where the rest of the original costume for Davros is? The chair and everything else?
No idea.
Nobody knows.
Oh, people will know. There's loads. I mean, it's
the
like
costume. You want a black tunic, didn't you?
it'll be somewhere.
Yeah.
I reckon it'll be somewhere. No, the reality.
In a private collection, no doubt.
Yeah, private collection. There's, I think Andrew Beach has a huge collection he's acquired over the years, and I think he worked at exhibitions and things. I mean, I think there's people with stuff all the time. I mean, it amazes me that I've managed to put as much together.
If this wasn't preserved very well, because of why is Brotom so well preserved? Is it because Mike Tucker looked after it well? How did he look after it? We don't know.
Oh, I know. Brotom was in terrible condition.
And did you restore part of it then?
No.
He did?
No,
he did, of course.
Yeah, he did. No, Brotom was in appalling condition, and a lot of it are. They had to re-sculpt areas and recast from new sculpt and add them to the bits that survived. There's not. There's various areas are original, but a lot of areas are new.
Because I think he redid one of the Ice Warriors and also the Yeti as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I mean, the Zygon was a very complex piece of work. But he had Colin Mapson working with him, who did the originals, who worked uncredited on the originals. And it's a magnificent job, and it's incredibly complicated.
Is this the only surviving suit of the serial then, is it?
The Zygon?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, there were four of them, about 3 or 4 of them.
Three costumes. I think there's another one hiding somewhere. What annoys me is then people keep these things quietly.
And you don't get found out till years and years later.
It's like, what's the point?
I know.
It's like, what is the point? I don't get it.
It's like having something original that no one else has. It's like a clique of people who like that idea, don't they? I've got something you haven't got.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Life's short, share it.
Yeah,
because then you're going to die. And then what's the point? What has been the point of that? That's the point of this.
That's right, because what you've done here is absolutely, and it is beautiful. I mean, nobody can deny that.
Thank you.
And you've got so much stuff, as I said before, packed into one space. Yeah. Ordinarily in another museum, like for example, other museums
fill treble the space with this.
Yes, because they spread things about in these big museums.
Yeah. I am so jealous when I go to another place, like the BBC Worlds of Wonder. I'm so jealous of the space they have.
The space, yes, but the costumes you've got more of. You have, because I told you about the Brain and Morbius in there. But apart from that, there's very little classic stuff in there.
Yes.
There's a few, but very little.
Yes.
Because like they did, they sold off all these things over the years on exhibitions.
Yes.
What do they call it? Bonhams. They sold a lot of those things off that way.
Yeah.
So, can you put a figure on this? I mean, if you can you put a figure on all the value of all the stuff in this museum?
No way. No idea.
Would it be, if you did try that, would it be a sentimental figure rather than an accurate figure?
Everything is
perspective, isn't it?
Sorry, this guy. It's basically how much someone is prepared to pay for something on a said day. So you can go on eBay some days and you might buy a prop for hundreds of pounds. Next week, somebody may pay thousands of pounds for it. It's absolutely impossible to quantify. I've got the place insured for a couple of $100,000 basically.
Yes.
But that's just because. But the problem is, if that happened, I wouldn't reopen because I wouldn't have. I couldn't. I could never redo it.
How do you maintain or keep the affordability of keeping the temperature things going, everything else in the museum, all the things that keep going?
Basically,
is that because of the donations and things?
Yeah. It's donations, and I've got a charge to keep open. I've got the patrons really help. And it's not patron anymore, but Friends of the Museum really help.
Yeah.
And basically, I'm very sensible with what I do, and I'm very so the lights are LEDs, so they're cheap. I run dehumidifiers all the time, and we shut midweek now because we don't get enough people in to make it worth switching on.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. We can't. I've had a few people say, "Oh, you're not open this day." Like,
Yeah, I remember seeing them. Yes, I saw the comments.
I can't. I can't run this place for £7 on the day. It's got to be worthwhile only. So what we thought was we'd open up guaranteed, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all year round, And
can I just mention, by the way, to anybody watching this right now, in Allendale is easier to get to than you think.
It is, yes.
Because there are so many buses that run here.
It's not.
You can get a taxi quite reasonable from even, or get a bus back to either way. What I'm going to do today.
Absolutely.
So there's always a way of getting here, and it's not. It's a beautiful journey here as well.
It is. Yeah. It's not. People think it's. I mean, in the car, it's 15 minutes from Hexham.
Yeah.
And Hexham is a main train.
11 miles away, isn't it? 11.
It's not far.
Yeah.
People think if you go further afield, it does start to get a bit more difficult, but it's not that difficult. But I mean, I think
it's easy to get here.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had one or two people say, I think the thing is though, I'm working now very much on sustain. I want to keep the place open. So to keep it open, I've got to be sensible. I can't open every day of the week. No. I've got to earn a bit extra money, so I make sure I do that.
And why?
Yeah.
Why do you? I mean, I know it's been part of your life, Doctor Who, literally from Blackpool days. Yeah. But why do you recreate this energy every day of coming in and doing this? What do you think brings you in?
That's a good question.
Is it because you're meeting people like myself, anyone else?
Yes.
It's just
you
get to talk about it more.
Right, look, I've said this a few times.
Talk about like-minded people.
If I didn't have a museum, this would go, because I don't. You see things. You can only see things so many times. Yeah. It's stuff. It's objects.
But the good thing about your museum, Neil, is you add to it all the time.
I do try.
Which brings you back.
Yeah, I try.
It brings me back.
Try. I mean, I think the thing with it is I'll never be satisfied. That's why I'm a perfectionist. I'll never be satisfied.
Well, that's good.
I think it is about the joy of seeing people come and see things they would never get to. And honestly, if this was sold tomorrow, what would happen? I can tell you now. There are collectors who would buy it up. It would be dispersed
all over the world,
and you would never see it again. And so, as long as I draw breath, this will be here for you to visit. And that's the thing, because it's like this is like a lifetime of putting things together. It really is. I'm going to check the front door again just to be honest.
Go on. Right. Well, ready and now then, Neil. You're going to take us around all the things that have come in new this year.
Yeah.
Just so we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Provide a little spice to everybody's
new
life.
Things that have come in this year. To me, sometimes things that are small are wonderful. This is a beautiful illustration that I missed out twice on eBay. It's Andrew Scaletta's Monster from the Book of Monsters by Adrian Ricklesford and Andrew Scaletta, and it shows Iron Gron and Sarah Jane, and it's just a lovely, beautiful illustration
from Time Warrior.
From Time Warrior from the Monster book. I've also been adding plaques slowly because I had to write them, design them, print them. Yep. Obviously, Davros, I think, was it just about this year? Pretty much this year, and I've just put the plaque in this week. Finally got the plaque through this week. Right. And I think in this area, that's about it. So if we head off down.
Can I just pay homage, my friends, to these little models we see here of dioramas, aren't they called?
Dioramas.
Of Day of the Daleks, for example.
Yeah,
more Daleks than you saw in the serial, obviously. But they're amazing.
I need to light it better. That I literally carved brick by brick.
There's a little Bessie up there too, like Silurians. Silurians.
Yeah. I love that.
That's a lovely little. I've got the little car from the Three Doctors DVD release, but that's not as small as that.
So basically, coming down here, we're really round the corner.
K9 was new.
Yeah, for new series. If you come round the corner, there's not much gone in there.
The TARDIS is landing in our museum.
Indeed. And if you come round, I think you will find. Right, he was in, wasn't he? I think he was just in at the end of the year. Kiv. Basically, I've changed this display very recently in the last, 4 months.
The Governor.
Yeah, you've got Mark. He is actually called Mark John. He's the old mentor. I've got the plaques now to go in. I just need to take the glass.
Is that an
out.
original costume? Yeah?
Oh yeah. Oh. So that's the old one. The old one who doesn't like Brian Blessed shouting at him. So that's in, and that's in. That was quite a big upheaval, and I'm going.
Mind Warp, wasn't it? I think
Mind Warp. Yeah. And then, so they're quite new in. Then this is all new. This is a fairly new display. I've
we don't often see little things you've added, like these little bits and pieces that many people look at. What are they exactly? These little.
That is the set model of Thoros Beta. That is Kiv's. That is Kiv's. It's the
living quarters.
It's the trading room where they sit. and that's the set model they built, and that's the corridor that you see them run down. I mean, I've had to wall mount it, but
is this an actual thing that was used by the BBC to build the set?
Yeah. Often they would just make little card scale.
Leyland Tecker. You know, what's Avon calling it?
Yes. And then we've got that is a Destiny of the Dalek head.
Original.
Yeah.
Vacuum formed head.
Formed head, yeah.
From Destiny of the
With
Dalek.
not the original lights, but hey ho, they were put on later by somebody else. That's fine. No. But I mean, this area here again, it was all in.
How did it get a hold of 2 Cybermen heads from North? How partly better? How does that come about?
It came up through a dealer. Simple as that. They'll have been tearing the sets up and dispersing, and that's it.
Oh yeah. What about the Cryon there? Where did you get that from?
That was Bonham's. That was originally in Blackpool.
Sarah's?
Yeah, it's a mix-up of 3 costumes.
Right.
That one came from. It was originally, at Longleats. Then it was in Llangollen, and then it was in Blackpool Museum, and then we went to Bonham's.
You know how these things? I mean, again, that's all tribute to the restoration. I know they're so clean now. Are you doing this?
Yeah, of course I am. Yeah.
Without destroying the original materials.
I don't clean. You never.
No, clean.
It's dust. It's dust. That's it. I mean, basically.
Because they are very clean anyway, aren't they?
Thank you. I mean, I do try to keep on top of it. I mean, it's a lot of. The thing is, to clean product, you've got to get the glass out, and that's a big job. But the thing is,
these are the original Cyberman costume, isn't it? From Earthshock. Or
that's from Earthshock.
That's the Skyber Scout.
That's Earthshock, Cyber, and 5 Doctors.
Attack of the Cybermen.
And Attack of the Cybermen. Yeah.
More from the Attack of the Cybermen, because that was the one that attacked Colin with the sonic lance.
Before that, it was in the same story, Silver first. It was
just repainted.
It was on Telus, and they repainted it.
But this is the one that got destroyed by the sonic lance by Colin Baker in the Attack of the Cybermen.
Which is why it's plastic chest. Well, there was a special effects one made as well. So I think that was not the special effects piece. So they had one that they blew up. It was a dummy one.
They always do that.
Lost its legs and things. So I think that's the only bits there. So it's not since.
And how long is going to Broton be in the museum for? Do we have that unlimited or?
No, I don't know. Mike came up and visited, and he didn't want it back urgently, which I was pleased about because it's fab.
Where does he keep it anyway? Where does he keep it? I mean,
well, you would have to keep it. You'd either go to one of the Worlds of Wonder exhibitions. I thought it might get recalled for that. But it was very kind. He's allowed me to keep it a bit longer, which is really great. I mean, Mike was lovely when he came up.
Talking piece, isn't it? When he comes in, you can see that and see how how rare.
What I will do when that eventually goes is I've got a Vervoid to restore.
A Vervoid,
and I'll put the Vervoid in because I mean it'll not be as good as that because that is an amazing piece. But that's what I'll put in. So I'm keeping the Vervoid back.
A lot of your museum pieces. I mean, we're talking about things that exist, by the way. Seem to come from the period of the 1980s, late 70s, because that's what stuff exists.
No, that's because
you've got stuff from the Evil of the Daleks. I noticed that, all little bits and things, and
there's
a Vargas piece of Vargas suit.
Yeah. But basically, it was that period of time that there was just they kept the costume store more. There was. I mean, there's quite a few 70s costumes in here. But costumes were held on better. The masks and things like that were often discarded and things like that.
I mean, is that your favourite period of the show, the 70s and 80s, or is it?
Yeah, I would say so. I like the 60s, but I prefer.
My opinion about the 60s is because you could suspend your disbelief easier then than you could with the 70s and 80s. Personally, that's my personal.
I think I like Pertwee and Baker's my golden time. But I do like early Davison as well. So,
even though people were talking online recently about the fact they didn't like the music from the Davison, as in the title sequence music, whereas people preferred the 70s and 60s version. 60s, or the Tom Baker especially has got.
It's iconic. Yeah, it's iconic. I mean, basically, I quite like Peter Howell.
I don't think they were dissing Peter Howell, but I mean, you see.
I think Peter Howell's version was a very strong version.
Well, it was making it new. I mean, a lot of people don't like John Nathaniel Turner's era to a degree, but he was bringing something new. It was trying to bring something new. It was a bit tired. Some people write and say it was a bit tired by that time because it's been 20 years. But nearly 20 years, 17 years. So by then, it needed a bit of a refresh somehow. And then we sort of came back again towards when the new series came back.
I'm going to have to check the front and just make sure everything is all right.
Right.
But I hope that has been.
That's been more than enough. I mean, you're going to have.